Hi there, you join us once again for part 2 of the review of the 2013 TGO Challenge, which was undertaken obviously by myself and my friends Lee and Tony May 2013, and I'm now combining a story, if you like, with various clips, movie clips, looking at the map, looking at some aerial reviews, looking at some aerial pictures, and just helping people decide what route they want to take if they ever undertake the TGO Challenge. Now it takes place in May of each year. You need to look at the TGO magazine in October of each year to apply, and it's limited to a certain number of people, and they vet your routes and so on. But they do welcome in as much as possible overseas visitors and first timers who want to walk 200 miles for a couple of weeks and mix with like-minded backpackers, all to build fellowship. Well, part 1 dealt with the first 7 days, and now we're looking at the obviously the last 8 days of the trip. So let's have a butchers at the map and pick up where we left off. Right, well, last time we got to the Cairngorm Hotel here in Aviemore, which has proved to be a fantastic resting place and good, put us all in good spirits, as well as having good feed in the morning, good breakfast, and all the rest of it. Before heading out for the day. Now, it was going to be a short day, this particular day, day 8, which was obviously appreciated. We coming out on the road past Coylham Bridge and then taking a path which basically ran parallel to the road right through to Glenmore Lodge. Glenmore Lodge is a name that people will recognise, obviously, if they're into their outdoors, because they run a lot of outdoor courses there. And then we headed out into the hills from Glenmore Lodge, up near Rievaun Bothy, which we walked past before camping out here by this bridge, which is a nice little camping spot. And this is where we met 2 other challengers, Emma and Stan, and shared an evening chatting with them. But once again, the weather was against us, and really it didn't really help very much for socialising, which is a great shame, because one of the attractions of the TGO Challenge is to meet, 200 or 300 of people, all of which share the same passion for the outdoors as yourself. Anyway, let's have a look at the video, and I'll show you the brief trip from Aviemore to our camping spot. Yes, a very pleasant day, a nice walk, a bit of breeze, but I think that was the only day that we had some glorious sunshine before the evening turned against us and the following day. But more of that in a while. Let's just have a look at the review of the day. Only 15 kilometres, so a fairly easy walk. What's that, about 9 miles? Not much in way of descent or ascent. And again, I think there was a coffee house or something at Glenmore Lodge area, so we stopped for a bite to eat and generally sat in the sunshine, which was a very pleasant way to spend the afternoon. So on to day 9, and this is where we head over and down Glen Avon. Now this turned into a very long day, partly because of the distance, best part of 30 kilometres, but also, as you'll see in the video clip, the weather conditions were pretty appalling. We had a few snowfields to have to cross, which are always a little bit unnerving because you're never too sure if there's a bridge, so the snow is melted underneath where the snowfield is, and there's a stream or a deep gully and you can go straight through. And we had no choice but to cross those very carefully a few times to get across. The visibility dropped right down to 20 or so meters. In fact, I think one of the shots you'll see when you look at the video, the Lee and Tony just disappear in seconds away from me. But after a good bit of navigating, we managed to come out by the riverside, which was good, and then we headed down the track, where we once again bumped into Matt and a couple of others, which you'll see right at the very end of the sequence. And it was a terrible night. Everybody was literally battening down the hatches, putting rocks on the pegs because the wind was howling, and it was a hell of a stormy night. We all survived, but I have to say we were soaking wet and freezing cold when we were pitching the tents, and everybody was trying to get some sort of shelter out of the weather. And you'll see a little cluster of tents at the end there, and that's where we ended up. But anyway, let's look at the map, so we don't get too boring. So here we are. This is where we started off, down by the river there, which is there it is from the sky. Good old Google Earth, and you can see the spot there is well used, right by the side of the river and the bridge. But we were heading off east, obviously, towards Glenavon, and this was the tricky bit, the part that you'll see in the video where Lee and Tony disappear into the mist, is going across this section here, which, as you can see, is pretty tricky navigating, because you've got to come across the ridge here and drop down without dropping down into this gully one way, or down a steep drop the other way down the south part of it here. So you have to be pretty good with your navigating. Then across a flat area, which is all going to be all boggy, down to another stream, over another, trying to pick up a little peak if you can, before dropping down to the lodge. And actual fact, we came out 100 meters just here, just on the other side of that lodge, so that was pretty good going. And then down Glenavon, as I say, the weather wasn't on our side. It just got worse and worse as we headed down here, and then we bumped into everybody else as we turned and went south down to Glen Bulg, is it? And then I think there we go. Is that the lodge there? No, there it is. There. That's where we ended up. This bothy. And there's a ruin before, but I mean the wind was whistling through this gully, and there was nowhere for us to camp. We did think about camping back here, back on this flat area, but we're glad we didn't, because the wind really did pick up during the night. Anyway, to give you an idea of what it was like, here we go. Happy days. Yes, there were a lot of river crossings that day, and it was just freezing, absolutely freezing. As you can see what sort of conditions it was like as we arrived at that spot to camp up, oh gosh, it brings back memories. So let's just have a look at the final details on that particular day. Yeah, 26 kilometres, fair whack. Obviously we had to climb onto that ridge and traverse it and get down again. It should have been around 7 hours or so, but underfoot with those conditions, we had to be very careful. Certainly with the river crossings, you've got to be very careful with those, and we take our time doing that. It was a good 11 hours plus. I remember it being a late finish that night. So, back into the flesh pots of Ballaturf on day 10. After we spent a night hunkered down behind these buildings. In fact, let me just show you that. Obviously, that's where it is on the map, but there it is there. Let's zoom in, and yeah, we were tucked just there, out the way of the wind. It was just whistling and howling down there. So it was a fair walk for us to go. It was easy going. Again, road walking or track walking pretty well all the way. Not particularly brilliant on the feet, but weather, circumstances, and the fact that I was obviously not had the best of trips, the guys looked after me to make sure that we got to one place and still achieved our goal. So we went down to Garnshill Lodge there, and then down the road, or there's a path that runs parallel to the road, before coming into Ballaturf from the north end. And there's a great campsite just, where are we? Zoom in, whoop, wait, there we go. Just there, which is down by the bridge in Ballaturf. And they're very used to challenges, and it makes a change from going to Braemar, where a lot of people go. It's either Braemar or Ballaturf, and we all fancied a change and decided on Ballaturf, which worked out really well actually, to have a change from Braemar. So here's a short clip basically on the day. As you can see there, a lovely campsite at Ballaturf, and very welcoming to us as well, and the local hostelry, they were good. I think we arrived just after the kitchen had closed, actually, at lunchtime, and they saw several hungry mouths that needed feeding, and they opened the kitchen again for us and gave us a fantastic slap-up fish and chip meal, which was greatly appreciated, because that last mile walking down into Ballater when you got sore feet is an absolute killer. And right, so let's have a roundup of the day. So there you go, not a long one, just 19 kilometres. Not much in the way of climbing or descending. As I say, a lot of it was on the road. Some of the off-road stuff was a bit boggy underfoot, but there again, that was the way the weather panned out for us. But we didn't really stop because it was cold. As you can see, we wore waterproofs and all our clothing pretty well all the time so far in all these clips. And the actual time was 5 hours. Day 11 was upon us, and after a good night in Ballater, a good rest, everybody soon packed up their shelters and tents in the morning and headed out in different forms. For us, it was going to be a fairly short walk, or hopefully a fairly easy walk anyway. In the 7 years I've been doing the TGO challenge, always wanted to climb Mount Keene, and in the end I always bypassed it for whatever reason the last few days, and went to Tarfside, which is where everybody gathers on the last couple of days before heading up to the coast by a different route. So this time Tony and Lee were determined to do Mount Keene, and this particular walk out of Ballater is quite nice because at the end of the walk, as you'll see, there's a fantastic camping spot. It's like a football pitch. It looks like somebody's mowed it. It is beautiful, and there we met Les and Izzy. Les and Izzy turned up just as we were bedding down for the night, and we had a bit of a chat with them. But again, it was too cold really for too much socialising. Everybody ate and got their head down fairly soon. Anyway, let's have a quick look at the actual location. So here we are at Ballater. There's the campsite here, just there, and so we heading out of Ballater, and zoom out a bit, and there we go, and then we're heading over to this lovely little grassy pitch. There we go, here. As you can see there, look at it, it's just like somebody's mowed it. Looking at the map, so you have the Ballater there. Obviously track's fairly easy, well established. We came over the top, had a bit of a brew. I seem to remember by a little bothy hut that's around here somewhere, before heading over the top and dropping down to have a fairly restful night there. So no surprises really, and well, here's the day. Venison stew was on the menu that night. I'm cooking away on my honey stove. But you can see, a beautiful camping spot. And you also noticed that's the first time both Lee and Tony and myself, obviously, had actually removed our hats and we were all venting left, right and centre because we were so warm. Very pleasant day. Very pleasant day. However, things changed within 24 hours. So let's have a quick roundup. And so with day 11, as I say, very, very short. That's only 6 miles, 10 kilometres, 480 metres ascent and 302 descent. But it didn't take us very long, and it was, yeah, good day all round, that one. Well, we're getting ever closer to the east coast now, on to day 12. Yeah, day 12. And this is where we head over the top of Mount Keene down into Tarfside. Now, Tarfside is where the Challenge organisation take over a church hostel in a very small village. And the village have opened their arms to everybody from in the Challenge history with welcome arms. What tends to happen is you can stay at the hostel should you wish to, or should you need to, if you're obviously not in a fairly poor condition. But there's Challenge wives of the organisers are usually manning the hostel, making sure everything's okay, and there's food and various refreshments you can buy just to top up your enthusiasm. Then you can either, as I say, stay at the hostel or camp at the sports ground in Tarfside itself, which is directly opposite the Masons Hall, which is a Masonic lodge that they open in the evening for members and obviously associated members to have a bit of a social evening. But generally, over 2 nights, a good probably 50 or 100 people go through Tarfside en route to St Cyrus or the east coast. Right, well, let's have a quick look at the map and give you an idea of what we had to face. Yeah, the weather came down on us as we left the campsite down here and headed up to Mount Keene. Never been over Mount Keene. Actually, I really enjoyed going over Mount Keene. As you'll see, the visibility dropped. The wind was very, very strong, and well, it's 930 odd metres really, so what do you expect? But it was a fairly pleasant walk down here to down Glenmark, down into Tarfside, which is just over here on the right hand side, and you just hit the road and then skirt off the road and cross, do a nice country walk actually, into Tarfside. And there's Tarfside to give you an idea of the size of it. It isn't a huge place, and they look after us. And the sports ground here is an open area here is where people can camp, or there's the actual church lodge, which is just there. So let's just run the video and you can see what that day consisted of. Even started with some humour by the looks of it. Yes, good times, good memories. As you can see, it's where everybody gets together, swaps notes and shares stories of their epic adventure before arriving at Tarfside. So yeah, not a bad day really. As you can see, a bit blustery, but apart from that, perfectly enjoyable. Let's just do the old figures. Yeah, only a 15-kilometre day, but a reasonable climb and descent down into Tarfside, and of course the social aspect of Tarfside does make that achievement much more enjoyable. But of course this is the beginning of the end really. Now only a couple more days to go and everybody will be back at the east coast and getting their various forms of transport to head home, and it's very hard sometimes not to allow the thoughts of what's coming next into your head and try and enjoy the last 48 hours as much as you can. Well, day 13 is upon us. Everybody's had a good night's sleep and well, it's back to civilization almost. You're trying to stave it off for as much as possible, but sadly reality bites and you know you're on the way home virtually. Very nicely, just down the road from the campsite in Tarfside is actually the cafe, the retreat, which is run by the local volunteers, people in Tarfside. As I say, they try and help the local economy. So generally everybody piles into the retreat, and you'll see that on the video, for a decent breakfast before heading down the road. And to try and get off the road as soon as possible, you cross over at the bridge just here. That's not right, that's just crossing just here. You'll see a picture of us guys by the bridge there. And then you head basically across the fields and along down this Land Rover path down to hitting the road before getting into Edzell. Now Edzell is the last stop almost for picking up any supplies or whatever, but there's a very good tuck shop there in Edzell which everybody again piles into for lunch, and a pub next door as well, so you can have all sorts of refreshment. Pick up any last minute treats before heading down this horrible road. Now you've got to look very carefully. There are various ways out of Edzell. If it's the first time you're doing the TGO challenge, don't take the obvious route. Seek some advice from various people that have done it before, because there are ways of cutting off this very long and tortuous road that goes all the way down here to Northwater Bridge. And in actual fact, we managed just to do a short piece of it from here down to here before cutting through at Northgate, coming through a backtrack and cutting off the road. It's a very fast road and incredibly dangerous. But the campsite down at Northwater Bridge, again, very welcoming, and you'll see the tents are all pitched around people in caravans who are staring out of their windows, drinking their G&Ts, wondering what on earth all this great and washed group of people is that turn up and disappear within 24 hours, because generally we're all gone by 9 o'clock in the morning. So here's a quick video showing you what the last day but one actually feels like. and we're all gathered there enjoying our last sociable meal. But as you can see from the clothes people are wearing, still very, very cold, bitter wind, and which is a shame really, because it spoils a lot of the socialising that can take place, and obviously it's a nice way to make new friends which you'll bump into 12 months later on the next TGO at some obscure place, and just carry on the conversation as if no time has passed at all. So we're getting on towards the last day now, so let's just see exactly what that day consisted of. 24 kilometres, fairly easy going, simple, not much way of descent or ascent, and there's no rush, so people tend to make it fill the day, so you arrive tired at the North Waterbridge campsite, just stick your tent up, have a bit of a chat, probably a shower, and then get your head down for the night. Well, here you are, the last day. Reality is biting. You can't keep away from life anymore. You've escaped for 13 odd days. This is day 14, and now you hit the coast. Now, a lot of people choose to go to St Cyrus because it's the easiest route, but the other reason is actually that you've only really got 1 day's walking through urban areas, through the road. There's quite awkward to actually get to the coast and maintain the rural, peaceful isolation right to the very last minute. So there's usually a day or so of walking through urban areas, and it slowly creeps upon you. Have a quick look at the map. There's not much really to see here. Obviously North Waterbridge campsites there. We've got to cross over the A9, which is a very, very dangerous road, and you can see that by the wobbly camera work when I cross over it and record our progress. And then it's through a series of back lanes really, on footpaths, shortcuts through the Hill of Morphy there, through to the little village of St Cyrus, and then tradition states that when you hit the beachhead here by the church at St Cyrus, you've got to climb down the cliff face to dip your feet in the water, otherwise it's not a proper finish, which is quite right really. But actually over the years I've noticed that the footpath that goes down to the beach is getting more and more precarious, so if you go that way, do be careful. Now, before I run the video on this, let's actually look at the figures on day 14. There you go. It's only 12 kilometres, so it doesn't take very long, and there's nothing much really to look at as we go. It's ascents, descents, and you meander, but there's no pubs or cafes en route apart from right on the by the church there, actually in St Cyrus. When you come back out and climb the path back up again, there's a little cafe and a pub, I think, which is next to the bus stop where people wait to catch the bus to go to Montrose. So looking at the whole trip, that's a total of 287 kilometres, which I think off the top of my head is around 185 miles. Total ascents 8,500 metres. Obviously descents very similar, so it should be. If you've gone up from sea level, you come back down to sea level again. And the estimated time from the mapping software should have been 78 hours, but actually it took us 105 hours plus walking. So yeah, that is about it really. Well, I hope you've enjoyed all the details and the content here to give you a bit of an idea of what the TGO challenge involves. As I say, the application form to join this gathering is in the TGO magazine October each year. And I'm quite happy to admit, as I say, it wasn't the best crossing for me. I did have blisters because I didn't look after my feet the first couple of days. Never had blisters before, and I had some sort of other injury which came and went over a series of following weeks, which made it tough going. But I've got to thank Tony and Lee. They were great friends, great buddies, very supportive, and kept pushing on. As you can see from the video clips, they just were always either ahead of me or behind me, and kept me going, kept my spirits up with some terrible jokes and lots of Guinness. So that pretty well wraps it up then. Here's the final video and a few other titles at the end to conclude the video. I hope you've enjoyed this two-part series, and if you're on the TGO challenge in the near future, the best of luck. It is a challenge, don't forget it. we're at the end of TGO Challenge 2013, the 34th TGO Challenge. If you want to know more about joining the TGO Challenge, then check out the October issue of the TGO magazine. That's the way
This machine will have eyes, ears, and a voice.